The anime begins with the protagonist, Kimerito, waking up next to Mia, a half-snake person. In this world, women who are half-animal are common, so the government assigned Kimerito as a caretaker for these half-human, half-animal beings. Since then, he has had to deal with Mia every day. Mia was feeling very cold and wanted Kimerito to warm her up. She used her snake body to trap him, but she ended up squeezing too hard. The weak point of snakes is their tails, so whenever she traps him, he pulls her tail. He said he would prepare the bath. While he was in the bathroom, Mia appeared and said she would bathe first. She pulled the protagonist into the bathtub and said she wanted to bathe with him. Kimerito fled, but soon regretted running away. Kimerito went to prepare breakfast, and while doing so, Smith, his interspecies relations coordinator, appeared at his house to check if Kimerito was following the laws regarding monster girls. Romantic relationships between humans and monster girls are a crime. If a human gets involved with a monster, they will be arrested. Smith started asking indecent questions to Kimerito, so Mia grabbed Kimerito by the neck and said that if Smith laid a finger on him, she would have to deal with her. Smith then left. Mia asked Kimerito if the forbidden activities between monster girls and humans were really that important. She said that at first she was afraid Kimerito wouldn't accept her, because many people in society are prejudiced against monster girls. However, he welcomed her with a beautiful smile and a lot of affection. She said she didn't care about the law, and that he could do whatever he wanted with her, because she loved him. Kimerito said he couldn't do that because he was being suffocated again, and he ended up dislocating his shoulder. The next day, Kimerito and Mia went on a date. They went to various places until they ended up at a lingerie store. She asked Kimerito to choose which bra was better. She dragged him to the fitting room and wanted him to see her wearing the clothes he chose. He panicked and left the fitting room, but accidentally removed something from Mia. She was embarrassed and called him a pervert. When they left the store, a couple started laughing at Mia for calling Kimerito darling, and she got stressed and attacked them. Kimerito stepped in front of her tail and told her she couldn't attack humans, or she would be deported. Several people started taking pictures of Mia without permission. She asked Kimerito to go somewhere without people, and they ended up going to a hotel to escape the crowd. In the hotel, Mia felt down, saying people only treated her well because of the law. She asked Kimerito if he also treated her well just because of the law. She lay on the bed, showing how defenseless she was. Then Smith burst into their room and stopped them from doing anything. On their way out of the hotel, they encountered the couple who mocked Mia again. Kimerito got very stressed and punched the man who was mocking Mia. That night, Mia asked why he did that. He said he couldn't forgive people like that for being so cruel to a girl. Mia, moved, attacked him and was very happy because Kimerito saw her as a girl and not as a monster. Smith appeared at that moment, asking what was for dinner. The next day, while Kimerito and Mia were hanging clothes on the line, a monster girl grabbed Kimerito and flew away with him. The bird girl introduced herself as Poppy, a half-bird girl. She spotted an ice cream stand and pulled Kimerito by the arm, and they went to get ice cream. Poppy told Kimerito she had run away from the Interspecies Council. He warned her she would be deported for that. She accidentally dropped her ice cream, so he offered her his. People around them watched, thinking a forbidden activity was happening, but it was just a misunderstanding. He ended up spilling his ice cream on her, so she went into the fountain to clean up and pulled him in too. Mia appeared after running a long way after them, feeling very jealous. The two started fighting until they saw a little girl stuck in a tree. They decided to help her. Mia climbed the tree, wanting to impress Kimerito by saving the little girl. She reached the girl, but she got scared, and the girl fell from the tree. Poppy swooped in and caught the girl. If it weren't for Poppy, the worst could have happened. A civil guard officer appeared and asked for Kimerito's host documents. He didn't have them with him. Smith appeared with the documents and saved Kimerito from being arrested or something like that. From the beginning, Kimerito had already been chosen to be Poppy's host by the government. From now on, she would live with Mia and Kimerito, who was very happy with the news. Poppy invited Kimerito to take a bath, and Mia got very jealous and invaded their bath, saying she would help Poppy bathe. The next day, while Kimerito was returning from shopping, he was run over by a monster woman. She was a centaur named Centauria. She was looking for a host, and it seemed she had found him. While he and the centaur were talking, a woman had her purse stolen by a thief. The centaur and Kimerito chased him for a long distance. When the thief looked in the rearview mirror, he saw two melons, causing him to lose control of the motorcycle. The centaur woman and the protagonist ended up crashing into a warehouse. When the centaur looked back, the thief was about to attack with his sword, but Kaimarito stepped in front and got hurt. Luckily for him, the sword the centaur carried was fake because she couldn't carry a real one. When someone sits on a centaur, they become their master, like a marriage between centaurs. After Kaimarito discovered this, he apologized to her. She apologized and said it was entirely her fault. She told him she had found the perfect man destined to be her master, and that it was the first time she had sacrificed herself to protect someone. Mia and Pepe appeared, feeling very jealous. At night, we see that Kimirito is having a hard time with the three monster girls. The girls were fighting over Kimirito. The next morning, Mia was teaching how a monster girl should behave to the girls. Kimirito appeared with a big mark on his face. While Kimirito was in the bathroom, he accidentally opened the door while Centauria was bathing. Embarrassed, she kicked him in the face. She told him he didn't need to apologize and that she should have locked the door. Mia got jealous and kept them apart. Poppy got crazy with her studies and called Kimirito to bathe. Kimirito prepared the bath for Poppy. Poppy decided to take advantage of the situation. Centaurea appeared, shooting arrows at Poppy. Centaurea ended up saving Kimirito from the worst and asked him to ride on her to escape. Mia tried to stop them, but Centaurea ran over her and fled with Kimirito. The two went to a park. Centaurea asked if he could assault her. He apologized, and she started talking about her ancestors and didn't stop for a minute. Since they were in the park, Kimirito asked if there was something she wanted to do. She looked at a couple in the square holding hands. Then, very embarrassed, she asked Kimirito to hold hands with her. Kimirito held her hand, and she got very nervous until Mia fell from the sky with Poppy. Mia was very angry because Centaurea had run away with Kimirito. The three started fighting over Kimirito. Smith was passing by the park in her car when she saw them. She took out her gun and fired sedatives at them, but she missed and hit Kimirito in the back. He ended up fainting. When Kimirito woke up, the first thing he thought of was the girls. They were depressed about what happened to Kimirito. He told them not to worry about him, because they were a family. Smith then said to Kimirito that there was a movement for a bill that would allow marriages between humans and monster girls. She asked him which of the three he would marry, who he would choose. At night, Mia knocked on Kimirito's room door. She said she was worried about Kimirito and that it seemed like he didn't want to marry any of the girls. Kimirito said that wasn't it. He told her he had never even dated anyone in his life. Then Mia lunged at him and said she loved him. Poppy broke the window and flew into the room. Poppy took advantage of Mia being unconscious and went after Kimirito, but Centaurea blocked the door. That night was a full moon night, and the animal instincts of the monster girls became very strong, and they couldn't control themselves properly. They all started attacking him, so he had no choice but to run away. He hid around the house and called Smith for help. Smith told him to go to the refrigerator, but the call dropped, and the girls ended up finding him and attacking him. Something red spread on the floor, which scared them, but it was just ketchup. The girls looked at Kimirito with an unfriendly gaze. The next morning, Kimirito woke up, and the girls were shocked because Kimirito was covered in bandages. He told them he would see all of them as potential brides and fainted shortly after. One night, Mia was imagining fanfics of her with Kimirito in the kitchen. Kimirito called the girls for dinner. When Mia opened the pot, she found a strange creature. The creature attacked her. They discovered that the creature was a slime. A slime is not yet a well-known species in society. Poppy called Kimirito to play, but jealous Centaurea wouldn't let them play. The slime in the pot suddenly grew giant and spread throughout the house, and they ended up getting dirty. Kimirito went to take a bath to clean up. At the door, Centaurea asked if she could come in. She told Kimirito she couldn't leave him alone because the slime might attack him again. Kimirito helped Centaurea wash her horse body. While the two were in the bathroom, some drops dripped from the ceiling. The slime was above them. When the slime descended from the ceiling, it grabbed Kimirito. Then the slime revealed its true form. It was a monster girl. The slime attacked him, and he ended up inside her, running out of air. He threw himself into the bathtub, and the slime was diluted by the water. At night, Kimirito and the girls were deciding what to do with the slime. The next morning, they gave the slime a name. Her name was Sue. They wanted to hand Sue over to Smith. Hearing this, Poppy grabbed Sue and flew away. Kaimurito chased after them, but while Poppy was flying over a river, Sue started getting scared of the river and moved a lot, so Poppy dropped her. She ended up falling on Kaimurito. Sue asked Kaimurito not to let them take her away and said she would protect him. Some children who were there called Poppy to play. Poppy played with the children every day. Sue, seeing them play, decided to join in. She absorbed water from the river, and her size increased. Then she sprayed a jet of water on the boys. The girls started chasing the boys. A car was speeding down the street. One of the children ran in front of the car. The child would have been run over if it weren't for Sue. She used her slime body to absorb the impact of the car and save the child. The bridge wall Sue was leaning against broke, and she ended up falling. Kaimurito grabbed her hand, but because a slime's body is slippery, Sue slipped and fell. Luckily, Kaimurito had placed the car under the bridge so she would fall on the vehicle. Poppy was very happy she didn't die. Kaimurito called the girls and said he wouldn't hand Sue over and told them to think of her as a child. When he got home, Smith was there. The next day, the girls gathered to discuss it. The government now knew of Sue's existence, and they were very afraid of her being taken away. Someone rang the doorbell. It was the interspecies security squad that came to renovate Kaimurito's house to accommodate all the monster girls properly. The girls were running from the government, thinking they wanted to arrest Sue. Kaimurito was looking for the girls to tell them the government didn't want to take Sue away. A woman in an out-of-control wheelchair came towards Kaimurito and crashed into him. Luckily, he wasn't seriously hurt. She introduced herself, and her name was Mero. She said she had seen the girls Kaimurito was looking for. Mero took him to where she had seen them. They were still there. Sue was attacking the girls. When she saw Mero, she lunged at her. Then Kaimurito trapped her in a plastic bag. When they returned home, they thanked Smith for renovating their house and making space for Sue, but she said the room wasn't for Sue but for Mero, a mermaid. The government decided that Kaimurito would also be her host, and from that day on, they would live together. While Kaimurito carried Mero around the house, Mia got very jealous and attacked them. They slipped down the stairs and ended up in an embarrassing situation. Kaimurito said he was just helping her up the stairs and that Mia didn't need to attack them. Since her wheelchair broke, Kaimurito would have to carry Mero until they got a new one. Mia was stressed because now she had another rival as Kaimurito's future wife. Mero asked Kaimurito if he had a girlfriend. He lost his balance and accidentally removed something precious from Mero. Mia called him a pervert. Mia got very jealous and decided to set Mero's room air conditioner to the coldest possible temperature. But she didn't expect mermaids to be so resistant to low temperatures, and the only one who suffered from the cold was herself. Mero was interested in Kaimurito. She said yes. Mia said she wouldn't let Mero lay a finger on Kaimurito. Kaimurito took Mero to the pool. In the pool, he told Mero he didn't have a girlfriend and never had one. Mia and Centauria decided to wear bikinis like Mero and went to the pool. Kaimurito was very embarrassed when he saw Mia in a bikini. Centauria was embarrassed to appear in a bikini in front of others, so she ran away. When Mia looked back, she saw Kaimurito and Mero jumping into the water. Mia also jumped, but she couldn't swim. She almost fainted. Kaimurito swam to her and brought her back to the surface, preventing her from drowning. Mero was very relieved that Mia didn't drown. Mero said they didn't jump into the water. It was Sue who jumped on them and knocked them down. In the bathroom, while Mero and Mia were taking a bath together, Mia apologized for how she treated her since she arrived and said she wouldn't let her marry Kaimurito. Mero said she didn't want to marry him and supported the two of them getting married. The next day, Mia showed she had no talent in cooking. After her failure in the kitchen, she was depressed in her room. Kaimurito looked at the floor and saw a scale. Snakes usually shed their skin, and this was happening with Mia. She didn't want Kaimurito to see her shedding. Since Mia burned her hands in the kitchen, she couldn't pull her old skin off, so he said he would help her shed. He gently pulled her old skin until he reached the tip of her tail. Mia started screaming a lot. People passing by on the street were completely embarrassed by Mia's screams. After he removed all her old skin, she made him food, but it looked like anything but food. Hours later, when Kaimurito returned from the market, Poppy told him she was going to lay an egg. The other girls thought he had done something forbidden, but he hadn't. A man knocked on the door and asked if this was where a harpy was going to lay an egg, and if they were making a documentary about interspecies relations. He entered and checked out all the girls one by one. While Mia was being interviewed, Mero warned that Poppy was about to lay her egg. They went to her room, and the interviewer started filming with ulterior motives, intending to make money by recording a harpy laying an egg. Sue read his thoughts and told the girls about his intentions. Kimirito threw an egg at him and punched him. The egg he threw was one he had taken from the fridge. After teaching the interviewer a lesson, the girls helped Poppy lay her egg. After Poppy laid her egg, while Mia was cooking, they discussed what to do with the egg. Kimirito asked Poppy where she left the egg, and she said she put it in the fridge. The egg Mia was cooking was Poppy's. At the interviewer's house, he was angry with Kimirito for ruining his plans. There was a spider woman there who provided her web for the interviewer to sell. After hearing about Kimirito, she became interested in knowing who he was. In the city center, a robbery was taking place in a store. Armed orcs had hostages. Due to interspecies laws, the police couldn't do anything about the robbery. Smith told the police that the interspecies security squad would handle the case. In the store, an orc, due to his keen sense of smell, noticed someone on the roof. He shot upwards and hit a girl, then fired more shots at her. The other orcs found a girl hiding and captured her. She tried to escape but had nowhere to run. She stood in the store window with the orcs. Far away, in a building, a girl was preparing her rifle to shoot. She fired continuous shots and hit all the orcs' weapons. Something destroyed the establishment's wall and took down the orcs. It was a girl in armor. The other orcs decided to use the captured girl as a hostage. The girl who had been shot got up and used her bow. She was a half-zombie woman. The hostage the orc was holding delivered a powerful blow. They were the monster girls of the Special Interspecies Security Squad. At Kimirito's house, the girls watched the news report on TV about the incident. At night, the Special Squad was on a mission looking for an interspecies being, but it escaped. At Kimirito's house, Smith talked about this interspecies being living at the interviewer's house. When they went to help Kimirito with the groceries at his house entrance, Kimirito had disappeared. He had been kidnapped by Rocknera, a spider woman. She asked if he was scared. He asked her to let him go because all his blood was rushing to his head. He tried to escape from her. A guard was passing by the warehouse where they were. She grabbed Kimirito and hit him on the warehouse roof, starting to engage in forbidden activities with him. Kimirito used his mouth to cut the webs and fell to the ground. Rocknera didn't get along well with her family. They looked at her with disdain, so one day, the interviewer appeared to her family and offered to host her. They agreed with him, which made Rocknera distrust humans. Lights turned on outside the warehouse. Smith was there looking for Kimirito. She ended up surrendering to Smith and said she could only live in a place at Kimirito's house. The next day, Kimirito woke up and observed in the kitchen. Mia was stressed because Rocknera called the protagonist darling. Rocknera was getting along well with the other girls. Centaurea seemed to be rubbing against Kimirito on purpose around the house, so she asked him to ride her. Kimirito said they didn't need to be so close. The protagonist went to the bathroom. The other girls, while talking, heard noises coming from the bathroom. They burst in, finding Rocknera with Kimirito tied up inside, about to engage in forbidden activities with him. At night, when Kimirito went to sleep, he was trapped in Rocknera's web. She told him this would be their romantic date. She locked the room door with her webs. Rocknera said she would teach him a forbidden act. Centaurea cut the room door and grabbed Kimirito, jumping out the window. As she fled with him, people photographed them on the street. When they stopped, a group of people surrounded them, mocking Kimirito, making Centaurea very angry. The group started attacking. Rocknera, watching from afar, very stressed, tied them all up in her webs, giving them a good scare. Centaurea thanked her and said she owed her. Rocknera said it was okay, she hated them too. They returned home together. The next day, Kimirito had a cold. Smith appeared at his house and told the girls to stay away from the protagonist because he might have a virus that threatened interspecies beings. The worried girls thought of a way to help Kimirito. They wanted to teach Sue to take care of him since she didn't have a body, she wouldn't get infected, and could care for him. She transformed into Kimirito, and Centaurea told her to pay attention. She approached and touched her forehead to his, making her very embarrassed. Then Sue, in Kimirito's form, did exactly what Centaurea taught, but she ended up suffocating him. Sue stayed up all night taking care of Kimirito until he felt better. Then the girls burst into the room and heard Sue saying to Kimirito that she loved him. The other girls were embarrassed to hear her say that. The next day, Smith invited Kaimurito to a cafe. The girls stayed outside, watching them. They wanted to know why the two were meeting. Mero dressed as a maid and entered the cafe to find out what they were talking about. When Smith and Kamirito left the cafe, they encountered a costume event happening in front. Kamirito saw a girl who looked like Poppy, but thought he was mistaken. Smith and Kamirito went to the square. The protagonist went to get ice cream for himself and Smith. Two girls who looked like Mia and Centauria attended to him. When Kamirito returned, Smith and the two left the square because there were too many people there. They went to a hotel. Mia was following them until she found Rocknera following too. She wanted to record Smith and Kaimurito. Suddenly, the two were pulled into a hotel room. There was the special interspecies mission squad. Kaimurito had received a letter threatening that he would be killed if he married any monster girl. Smith suggested the girls have dates with Kaimurito to see if the letter sender would appear. Kaimurito and Mero went on a date to a water park. Mero gave Kaimurito and Mia a free pass to see all the park's attractions. When the two were in front of an aquarium, they saw two fish kissing. Mia tried to kiss Kaimurito, but Mero appeared and ruined the mood. The two went to Mero's special attraction, and Kaimurito was dazzled by Mero's show. When he looked to the side, Mia had disappeared. Mia, irritated, was leaving the park. She ended up bumping into the interspecies man. He offered her a drink and invited her to go somewhere else. They went to a lake. While the two were on a boat, Mia talked about how kind and gentle Kaimurito was. The stranger got irritated by her praising another man so much. He told Mia he wanted her. He was a half-dragon human. Then he attacked Mia. Kaimurito, very angry, appeared with a boat, going after them, and crashed into their boat. He got out of the water with Mia. Kaimurito went to help the stranger out of the water, but accidentally discovered he wasn't a man. She flew away, embarrassed. Kaimurito asked Mia to turn around, and he put a beautiful necklace on her. She hugged him. The next day, it was Poppy's turn for a date. She wanted to go to a forest. There, they had a barbecue. Zombina went with them to ensure safety. A giant monster appeared in the forest and attacked them. It grabbed Poppy, and Sue ended up falling into some radioactive waste. The monster was a dryad. She was a protector of the plants and wanted to take revenge on humanity. Poppy knew the dryad. Once, she saw Smith arresting a kidnapper and saw that she was weak and frail nearby. She planted something in the forest, promising to return one day. She had forgotten, and it had grown a lot. The dryad didn't want to hurt Kaimurito, so she attacked Poppy. However, she was thrown far away and ended up falling on Sue. Sue was gigantic. She said the real reason she had grown so big was the radioactive waste dumped in the forest. She said if they extracted the nutrients from her, she would return to her normal size. Sue stretched her body and helped Kaimurito extract the nutrients from her. After extracting some nutrients, she returned to her normal size. While Smith interrogated the dryad, Kaimurito said she was not to blame and that they should punish whoever dumped the waste there. Smith said they would remove the waste and that the dryad could live there without problems again. The next day, it was Centauria's turn for a date. They went on a picnic. She gave him a sandwich she had made. He tasted it and said it was very good. Rocknera, who had followed them there, said from a tree that the sandwiches had no taste. Centaurea, depressed, said she wanted to get some air. While she was talking to herself by a tree, a half-demon girl spoke to her and hypnotized her to do forbidden activities with the protagonist. Kaimurito found her, and she attacked him, hypnotized. She started showing him everything. She said he could do whatever he wanted with her. Lala, the demon girl, was watching them from the bushes. A boar appeared and scared her, and she started running. Kaimurito tried to help, but the boar started chasing him. Centaurea attacked the boar and saved Kaimurito. Without the hypnosis effect, she said she only caused problems and was very depressed. Kaimurito mounted her and said he sprained his ankle and asked her to carry him. Then he hugged her and said he depended on her all the time. Rocknera had captured Lala to avoid more problems. Rocknera decided to punish her in a forbidden way. The next day, it was Kaimurito's date with the special interspecies squad. They had received another letter threatening Kaimurito, and the girls were tired of protecting him, so they decided to go out with him on their day off to catch the culprit. Kaimurito and Zombina went to the cinema together. When they left, Zombina's hand fell to the ground. Kaimarito helped put her hand back in place. She was embarrassed because it was the first time someone wasn't disgusted by her. Her melon also fell to the ground, and she asked him to sew it back. He sewed it and put it in place. Later, in the square, he went out with Minako. She bumped into everything because she only had one eye and no depth perception. She asked him to go to a more personal place. They went to an alley and sat on a bench. When Kaimarito looked into Minako's eye, she was embarrassed. Minako noticed someone was spying on them. She tried to escape, but the other girls who were hiding started attacking her and stopped her from escaping. They took off her hat and saw it was Doppel. She said she had sent a letter to see if Kaimarito would choose one of the girls. Doppel said she didn't send a second letter. While Kaimarito was crossing a street, he saw a woman. Kaimarito returned home and brought with him a headless woman. He had seen her at the crossing and decided to help her find her head. The girls went to the park for the head. Mia was scared. They had found her head. She asked him to take her head to her body. Suddenly, she started feeling strange. Something forbidden was being done with her body. She started making noises. A policeman passing by saw them. He confronted the policeman and saved her. When they returned home, she put her head back in place. The headless girl was a Dullahan. A Dullahan is a death knight who appears when someone is about to die. Kaimarito asked if any of his neighbors were about to die. She said Kaimarito was on the brink of death. She tried to collect Kimirito's soul, but Rhaenyra grabbed Kaimarito and flew away with him. However, she dropped him, and he ended up falling on Sue. Sue asked him to ride her. Several accidents started happening one after another. The Dullahan reached the two. Mero jumped into the water with Kaimarito. They swam away. Mero told Kaimarito that if he couldn't escape death, she could leave a forbidden memory with him. She wanted to have a baby. Mero took him to the bottom of the water to commit a forbidden act. Mia saved Kaimarito and took him to the surface. Rhaenyra tied the girls in her webs and said that no matter what they did, they wouldn't change fate. Kaimarito said it was all nonsense, and that if he returned home alive, he would get married. When they returned home, Smith asked the Dullahan what she intended. She said Kaimarito was always close to death but never died. Smith threatened, saying that if anything happened to Kaimarito, she would pay dearly. The next day, Kaimarito was worried about food expenses. He wouldn't have enough money to have food for the whole month. He and the girls went to the market to buy some food. The vendors were amazed by the beauty of the interspecies beings. They gave them free food. At night, they had a beautiful banquet. The special interspecies security team appeared at Kaimarito's house for dinner. Kaimarito made a mega banquet and ended up emptying his fridge. Smith told him he could have asked the government to pay for the food. He was very frustrated after learning that. After a long time, on a normal day, the monster girls were having exams to see if they were healthy, and Centaurea and Mero had gained a little weight. At Kaimarito's house, they were looking for a solution to lose weight. Smith told them that an interspecies gym was being tested nearby, and that the girls could go there to try it out. Kaimarito asked if he could take the other girls who hadn't gained weight. He was afraid Rhaenyra would do something forbidden with them. At the gym, they were welcomed by who would use the gym. They found the special interspecies security squad training. Started teaching yoga to the girls. All of them managed to practice very well, except Pappy. After practicing yoga, they went to the pool. While Kaimarito was putting on his clothes, he heard forbidden sounds coming from the girls' bathroom. The gym had 3 pools, an Olympic one for children, and another that looked like a resort. They went to the Olympic pool, told them to stretch before entering the water. When they entered the water, Kaimarito was impressed by how well Mia and Centaurea swam. Then Mero appeared and did some tricks in the water and air, and everyone applauded. Kaimarito praised her, making Mia very jealous. Mia challenged Mero to a race. The winner could do whatever they wanted with the protagonist. The race began. Mero jumped into the water. Mia used her snake body to make a kind of spring and jumped far ahead of Mero, but she belly flopped into the water and felt a lot of pain. Mero caught up with her. Mia started swimming backward and passed Mero again, but the water temperature was very cold, and she ended up with hypothermia. Mero was also affected by the chlorine in the water. The two didn't give up and kept swimming. Kaimarito entered the water and slapped both of them, saying they came there for health and that Centaurea had already won the race long before them. After exercising so much, they went to a restaurant to eat a bomb cake. The next day, the girls were making breakfast. A letter arrived at their house. Rhaenyra had received the letter and threw it in the trash, but the curious girls went there and got it. Rhaenyra's old family had sent a document asking to take Rhaenyra back, and someone would come to interview her. A girl knocked on the door. She was from Rhaenyra's old family. She wanted to negotiate the rights to host Rhaenyra again. The girls, planning to send Rhaenyra away and have one less marriage rival, decided to show her their daily life. They offered her the food Mia had made, and it seemed it wasn't good at all. She dropped the plate and dirtied her clothes. Sue helped clean her in a forbidden way. In the laundry room, they gave her a robe to wear, while her clothes were washing. In Centaurea's room, she asked why Rhaenyra's family had abandoned her. Ray said that one day, while Rhaenyra was getting something from a shelf, she fell on her and scratched her face, and her parents thought it would be impossible to live with her and sold her guardianship to a stranger. She said she was willing to earn Rhaenyra's trust again, no matter what it cost. She went to the attic where Rhaenyra lived. There, she found Rhaenyra packing her things. The girls asked if she was really leaving. She said yes, and that it didn't matter where she lived. Rhaenyra signed the guardianship document for Ray. Now only Chimera's signature was missing. Ray explained everything to Chimera. He said he wouldn't sign the document and wouldn't hand Rhaenyra over in any way. Rhaenyra was very happy with what she heard and started rubbing against the protagonist like a tick. Rhaenyra had drunk coffee, and caffeine is toxic to spiders, which made her intoxicated. She tried to go after Chimera but ended up falling asleep. And so the anime ends. If you've made it to this part of the video, comment "monsters" to let me know you're one of the few who made it this far. Thank you, and see you next time.